now time for the Billy C. Show, part of the BillyCBoxing.com network.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening, I hope you're doing okay. Today's shows are being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on beautiful St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call. 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. As soon as the show's over, I got to run down to St. Simon's right now to give Sal some coffee because he certainly needs it. You know, he's getting older. You know, he can't stay up as late as he used to anymore. But anyway, today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Billy C. Boxing 24/7 television channel. That's right, you can catch replays of this show, but better than that, all of the other events we've done over 15 years is being broadcast on this network, so make sure you check it out. All the major streaming platforms carry it, so watch it on your big screen or your handheld. Just visit Ginico USA, GINIKO USA.com for all the information. It's free. Create an account and get with it. And if you can't remember that, just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and there's one of the sliding slides. The sliding slides. Yeah, it's the sliding slides. One of the slides will link you right to it. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Best Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can get a copy right now. Right now. I'm talking right now while you're watching or listening to this show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. All right. Mikey Garcia tried to beat Errol Spence Jr. last night. I got to admit, I picked Mikey Garcia. I thought that he would win a decision. I also said that the fight, if it did go to the scorecards, that it would be Mikey Garcia's fight. I figured Errol Spence would knock him out or he would win. That's not what happened. Errol Spence Jr. dominated the fight from beginning to end, utilized his speed, his size, his power, his footwork. I mean, he put on a boxing clinic. He really did. I was shocked that Mikey Garcia did not mount any kind of an offensive attack. When he did, he landed. That was the strange thing. When Mikey Garcia landed punches, when he attacked, when he became aggressive, he was getting in there. It was the tentativeness that caused him to just not score enough to win rounds, in my opinion. Spence, on the other hand, did everything that he needed to do. The one thing that I was impressed with Garcia, actually two things, the way he handles himself after the fight, no excuses, gave all the credit that, and deservedly so, to Errol Spence Jr. But Garcia handled all the punches. I thought that if Spence landed flush, and he certainly did multiple times throughout the night, that he would have really hurt Garcia. I didn't see Garcia hurt at all in the fight. But nonetheless, Errol Spence Jr. improves to 25-0 with 21 knockouts. Garcia loses for the first time in his career, 39-1 now with 30 knockouts. At the end of the day, this was a financial move for Mikey Garcia. He doesn't lose his title in the lower weight. He got a huge payday, and he's still one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Nobody can really criticize him for losing this fight. He did go the distance, and, he moved up 2 weight classes. At the end of the day, it almost seemed to me like Mikey Garcia's game plan was to go the distance. I don't think he employed a game plan to actually win this fight. I think his game plan was to go 12 rounds. Joining me right now to get his thoughts is my man Sal Rocky Senacola. Good morning, Sal.
Good morning, Billy C. How are you today, buddy?
Oh, not too bad. Thoughts on the fight, brother?
Well, I'll tell you what. My thoughts. I was disappointed. You and I, we can't want to fight more than a fighter. And I would have thought that after 5 or 6 rounds of the same fight, these guys looked like they were on an old rope tote from a ski lodge. There was nothing exciting, nothing that was different. It was the same thing, like you said. I think Errol Spence, with his dominance, he established the pace of the fight. He established it and dictated the style of the fight. And lo and behold, Mikey Garcia fell right into it, not taking away anything from Spence. Spence was dominant. He fought. He boxed. He had a great jab. He was always on target. But Mikey Garcia, I thought, would have given a little bit more as far as angle, as far as attack, as far as angst, as far as like oomph. And maybe I missed it because I did fall asleep. I had Mikey Garcia winning the first 2 out of 3 rounds. And I know that's going to be not on everyone's scorecard, especially the announcers for the pay-per-view event. But I did have him winning 2 out of 3 rounds. The second round, he came back and said, wait a minute, guys, I'm in this fight. I'm here. I thought he was more dominant the third round. I just think he didn't follow his suit, and I didn't see the urgency and the angst that you normally would see when a fighter is being tested or when a fighter has to step it up or do something to establish his presence. And I think that's where Mikey Garcia lost his momentum in the fight. I don't want to quote or get too much involved with Max Kellerman when he would say the story of the fight. But unfortunately, the story of the fight, Errol Spence owned that. And I can't believe I just said it, but I did. And I think that Mikey Garcia had a hell of an opportunity. But like I said, people can't want it more than a fighter himself. And I think he came up a little bit short. And that was his time to really shine and make a big statement. And the opportunity wasn't really taken or realized. So it is what it is. That's boxing. That's fighting, and that's why any given night, anything can happen. And last night, all I could say to Mikey was, "It wasn't your night." What do you mean it's not my night?
The thing is in my opinion, Sally never had momentum at all.
No.
His momentum was prior to the bell sounding.
Yeah,
He had this. I'm going to refer to it because I never witnessed anything like it before. He had this sense of calm and like he knew something that no one else did, similar to Evander Holyfield the night he walked out to fight Mike Tyson. Never forget it. Watching him walk down, he just had this look on his face like he had everything under control. And when I saw him that night, I said, uh-oh, Mike's in trouble. And, Mikey Garcia had the similar look, but he didn't carry it out. Once the bell sounded, from the first round, I said to myself, Billy C, because when I talk to myself, I refer to myself as Billy C too, so it's not like, it's not like I say, hey, Bill, I say Billy C. So the truth of the matter is I said to myself, hey, Billy C, the truth of the matter is here, Mikey Garcia has just done what he never does during a fight. He did not win the first round. Errol Spence was throwing punches and Mikey Garcia was not. So I said to myself, okay, maybe he's just trying to get a feel of his power. Maybe he's truly doing a feeling out round. And I waited, and I figured round 2 he would throw some more punches. And he really didn't. I know you said you scored 2 of the first 3 rounds for Mikey Garcia. I was looking for rounds to give to Mikey Garcia, to be honest with you. The only round that I gave to Mikey Garcia was round 7. And even that, was a gift in my opinion. I can't argue with the scorecards. In a sense, I think Mikey fought that fight to go the distance. I really believe that he fought the fight to go the distance. Does it take anything away from Mikey Garcia? Not in my opinion. I mean, he moved up 2 weight classes. As far as Errol Spence goes, Errol Spence, his goal for winning this fight was to become that special fighter. They kept talking all night. Incidentally, one of the worst pay-per-views I've ever seen in my life. But that's become synonymous with the PBC. But the truth of the matter is he says, if I win this fight, I'm going to be the best pound-for-pound fighter. Well, I don't know if you could say that, really, to be honest with you. And the reason why I say that is because the best pound-for-pound fighters are always looking to fight and challenge themselves. Now, if Mikey Garcia wins this fight, he would have been regarded as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters. Errol Spence had to win this fight. As a matter of fact, Errol Spence kind of lost in a sense because he didn't get the knockout. Sal, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I thought that, I was surprised it did go the distance. I was surprised that Mikey Garcia didn't dig in a little deeper with the power, with the punches, with the delivery. And Errol Spence, sure enough, looked like he was on a real good charted out course for an outboxing victory. But he did have some power, and he did catch Mikey with some good shots. I also was surprised how well Mikey endured some of those punches. And I think that it went to see, you're going to have some potholes and some criticism now, because every fight exposes things in a fighter that people look for. Now they're going to.
I think we lost you, Sal. Oh, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Finish. You're back.
Yeah. They're going to say Errol Spence doesn't have that big punch. He can't fight anybody over welterweight. They're going to say Mikey Garcia is already fighting over the weight class he should. He's got to go back down to lighter weights. And it was just too much for him. So, that's what fights do reveal. Fights reveal weaknesses in other fighters. And then the media and fans use it for good fodder going forward. So we're going to see the rhetoric and everything else that comes out of this fight afterwards. Errol Spence, yeah, sure. He could have won in a real dominant fashion. He did as far as boxing ability, and he established that. He was no Tommy Hearns or even Sugar Ray Leonard, but he did do what he had to do to win, and win convincingly. And Mikey Garcia was no Roberto Duran or Julio Cesar Chavez either. So, like I said, it was what it was. I expected a much more confrontational fight, and I just I was disappointed. I was disappointed that somebody, you didn't have an Angelo Dundee-like figure. Hey, you're blowing it, babe. You got to do something different here. And I think somebody should have really just pointed that out to Mikey and say, hey, Mike, this is the same fight. Round 6 is the same as round 1, and you're losing. You got to change this pace. You got to do something. You got to do something drastic.
That's why I firmly believe that they were in there to survive. He didn't want to take too much punishment, and he didn't. He got battered in the second half of the fight, but he moved around and he went into survival mode. As a matter of fact, he was in survival mode from the first bell. I thought overall that the pay-per-view sucked. I mean, I can't sugarcoat it any other way. It sucked. It wasn't worth the money. Yes, the fight was what you paid for, but the undercard, what's become typical, and what bothers me is if you watch the fight and you start looking at it from a viewer's value point of view, right? So I see that there's, like you say, there's a lot of fluff going on, but there's no stuff. I mean, there was a lot of, high-end graphics for the broadcast, and there was a lot of show and glitter and this and that. But at the end of the day, there wasn't one really evenly matched fight on this card. The PBC has become a scam. And all these young fans that have bought into it just don't get it. All right, they don't get that these guys now. If what has become successful, and I'm missing the point, and the success is the marketing of the A-side fighter, and the brainwash, so to speak, of the fan to just accept this guy beating whoever they're putting in front of him, and equating that to being a quality fighter. Case in point, the undercard. Benavidez, a former super middleweight champ, David Benavidez, takes care of Jalen Love. I mean, Jalen Love he's finished. He was a never was. David Benavidez improved to 21-0 with 18 knockouts. Beat the snot out of him. Knocked him out at 1 minute and 14 seconds of the second round. Jalen Love drops to 24-3-1. Another one of those fine Mayweather bums that are in the Mayweather stable. How about the other fight between Louis Neary, who improved to 29-0 with 23 knockouts when he destroyed McJoe Arroyo in that fight as well. It was a TKO in the fifth. I didn't even hear the bell sound, but apparently it sounded. And then Chris Arreola, that was probably one of the most competitive fights of the night, and that one only went 3 rounds. Chris Arreola, his typical barroom brawler, took care of his opponent, Pierre Augustin, who really didn't show much. He drops to 17-1-1. Chris Arreola goes to 38-5-1. And then the fight that they basically, say, hey, here's the opening fight. And it was nothing but a commercial for the pay-per-view. Charles Martin improved to 26-2-1 when he won via an 8th-round DQ over Gregory Corbin. Not sure what that fight was even about. But I thought the card was extremely weak, Sal. I would like to see something better for $75-$80. What was your thoughts on the card overall?
Well, yeah, it was. Unfortunately, I got home too late. I didn't see too many of the preliminary fights. In fact, I tried watching them again. The pay-per-view was rebroadcast 7 o'clock this morning, but I found out I can't watch what I already bought. You have to buy it again. I said, no freaking.
No, you don't. You can record it. They let you record. You got to learn. You got to learn how to finagle this technology.
Yeah.
But the worst part about it all, Sal, was that everything about the event was poor. Listen, nobody loves Boom Boom. Nobody loves Boom Boom Mancini more than me. He was off last night, 100%. Sean Porter was good. Sean Porter was good. But, man, did they bust his chops about it. They're calling him, they're saying, oh, they all love your leprechaun suit. And Sean Porter's going, it's not a leprechaun suit. I'm just wearing green, But and then how about Deontay Wilder with that gorgeous chick? Oh, my God, I love her. Kate Adobe or I can't even say her name. She's so hot. But the truth of the matter is she gets Deontay Wilder on. And I'm saying to myself, is Deontay Wilder, has he lost his mind? She's looking at him, asking him questions. And then my favorite interview was Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, they'll ask him a question. Hey, Manny, how do you what do you think about this event? Is there a lot of people here? Is it sold out? And Manny Pacquiao responds, sold out? Yeah, it's sold out. Yeah, sold out. Yeah, it was sold out. It was good. What do you think about that? Well, I think everything good. Yeah, it's sold out. He didn't answer one question, not one. Every question that they asked him. And then guess what? This is the other part of it all that I just don't understand. A guy like Floyd Mayweather, all right? I know I mention him because I can't stand him. And if anybody's new to this show, I'll warn you right now. I think he was a fraud. Yeah, he's got quality defensive fighter and all of this stuff. But think about this. Here's a guy who, in the last 10 years of his career, never really fought anybody in their prime, right? He's even avoiding Manny Pacquiao for the rematch, even though he beat him in the first fight. And then what does Manny Pacquiao do? This is why, at the end of the day, I don't look at the losses. Manny Pacquiao wins his last fight against Adrian Broner. You could say what you want about Adrian Broner, but he's still in the mix today. Then, guess what? They're trying to make Errol Spence Jr. fight Manny Pacquiao. Would Floyd Mayweather ever fight Errol Spence Jr. today? Would he ever fight Keith Thurman? Would he ever fight Terrence Crawford? Would he ever fight anybody that's in the top 5, legitimate top 5? Would he ever fight them today? The answer is no. No way. But yet Manny will. Manny doesn't stand a chance with Spence either. What do you think?
No. In fact, even that female, the announcer, she was trying to bring them together, and Manny said, "Oh yeah, I fight anybody." Again, I love that passion. I love that Mikey Garcia wanted to fight him and challenge himself.
Yeah, but Manny didn't look like he really wanted him, did he? Yeah, he's going, okay.
Manny looks like he'd rather have a pina colada.
Yeah, exactly, man. Hey, Manny, you ready for him next? You want to fight him next? Yeah, fight him next. He said a whole lot of nothing. He was dancing around like a politician. Well, I guess he is a politician.
Like you said, there was all fluff and no stuff.
Yeah, it's just a shame. I couldn't help but think of the fans that buy into it, that actually are. I wonder, are there any fans today, this morning, that are saying, "Wow, what a great event that was"? I mean, they had a big crowd, 47,000, like they kept saying.
That was a great crowd, great boxing crowd. I loved it. It was great. And the owner of the Dallas Cowboys was there.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course. He was part of the promotion. But, I mean, every PBC fighter was there, which is good to promote. But none of them fight anybody. When I look at when you take a quick look at the welterweight division right now, as it stands, in my opinion, the computer rankings are pretty accurate. Terrence Crawford, number 1. Errol Spence, number 2. And by the way, I don't think Errol Spence earns the number 1 spot after beating a guy that moved up 2 weight classes. So I'm not discrediting him, but he's still at number 2. Manny Pacquiao, as far as the welterweight computer rankings, they have him at number 3. Sean Porter at number 4. They already have Mikey Garcia ranked at number 7 as a welterweight. The computer figures that out. But Keith Thurman is all the way down at number 9. All right, he's not even in the top 5. Sean Porter's number 4. Danny Garcia's number 5. Yordenis Ugas, number 6. Garcia, number 7. Kavalauskas, number 8. And Keith Thurman, number 9. I think that's legit. I don't think that Keith Thurman should be in the discussion. But, I think the fight that people would like to see would be Errol Spence against Keith Thurman or Errol Spence against Terrence Crawford. Or even against Sean Porter. Those are the fights we want to see, Sal.
Yeah, I agree with you. Those are fights that I would pay per view and pay to view, PPV, PTV, and and I'll tell you what, Errol Spence, he could be put anywhere in the mix there. Sean Porter, he could fight anybody, but I'll tell you what, Keith Thurman, he's got to prove himself a little bit, and I think he's just got to get back in the ring.
Well, this is the issue I have with the way boxing has become. We have too much division in the sport. I've said that before. I'll say it again. And what has unfolded, and we talked a lot about this last week and a little bit the week before, about picking your promoter, picking your network. It would be great to have one service you could pay for on a monthly basis and get all the fights. Now it's evolved into, if you like Hearn and his team with his fighters, you're subscribing to DAZN. If you like Top Rank and Bob Arum and all those fighters, you're subscribing to ESPN. If you like the PBC fighters, then you're watching your fights on Showtime or Fox. Golden Boy, they kind of work with ESPN and DAZN, so they've seen it. I think that when push comes to shove, Team Golden Boy recognizes that you got to play with the other promoters in order to get the coverage and recognition. And what's happening, at least what appears to happen, what's appearing to happen to me with this PBC, is that they've run out of, because of the arrogance of the attitude of Al Heyman. Their fighters have become their own little world of boxing, so to speak. And I guess that was the plan, to be a league. But think about it. Those fighters now, the only way that they can fight is to fight each other. You don't see that as much with the other promoters. You do see it eventually when it becomes financially, when it's financially right to do it. But I see a lot of these fights with the PBC fighting each other as their only options. And I'm not so sure how much money can be generated with these fights, Sal. No, I'm not talking about Spence Garcia, but I'm talking about like the Charlo brothers and even Deontay Wilder, which we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Well, good point. But like I said, these fighters could fight each other. These fighters are marketable. For the mega dollars, maybe not, but they're marketable to fight each other. They're marketable to fight top-tiered fighters and get in contention. And I think, that's part of the thinning out grooming process. So I think, they're all in their stable, and I think they've got something to offer, and it's just a matter of getting them in the ring with the right opponent and seeing where it goes from there.
Oh, my point is that they're all fighting within their own little group, and the PBC does not have the talent. They don't have if they would go across the lines and fight somebody like a Hearn fighter, just for argument's sake, like a Deontay Wilder against an Anthony Joshua on DAZN, instead of Wilder saying he's the man. Last night he said it 100 times. I'm the man. I am the guy that everyone wants. I am the guy that the heavyweight division revolves around. I am the man. I am the man is what he kept saying. And the truth of the matter is, you're not the man, Deontay. You're a stupid idiot, and you've walked away from all this money, and you've been left with nothing. You're left with no big money fights. He's going to continue with this. He's got his big announcement, and I'll tell you this, and then we're going to take a break. Rumor has it he's had two offers thrown at him during this past week. Hopefully he's responding and announcing that he signed with one of them. But the Zone offered him $50 million to fight 2 fights. $50 million, okay? Wow. And then 2 days later, Eddie Hearn offered for him to sign with Eddie Hearn and DAZN, and they offered him a 3-fight deal worth $100 million, with the 3rd fight culminating against Anthony Joshua. Now, we wouldn't get the fight in time, of course, because we all want it now, but that's $100 million on the table. If this idiot, if this imbecile turns it down and he goes in a different direction, I don't care which deal he took, if he goes in a different direction and stays with Al Heyman and the PBC, he is the stupidest guy I've ever seen, because he has already lost millions of dollars on the table. And if it's all about money, the only other thing it could be about, which is left aside from money, is legacy. And you still have to fight those other guys for the legacy. So, it's a double profit for him to become, legendary and financially secure by getting the hell away from Al Heyman. Al Heyman and Shelley Finkel and the rest of his advisors have screwed Deontay Wilder, and I believe it. And this guy is not all there. When you listen to him try and carry on a conversation, he's coming from left field, Sal. I know you love the guy, but somebody's got to slap him around and make him understand that they're totally screwing this guy.
Yeah, but he's got the girl.
What girl? He didn't have no girl. That girl was looking at him like, get him away from me. As a matter of fact, that whole interview ended abruptly. It was strange. But speaking of that, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll get Dax Khan's thoughts. Sal's going to drink some more coffee, and we'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology used to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Don't forget, check out our 24/7 television network. You can catch replays of this show, but better than that, all the other events we've done over the past 15 years. Just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the tile. You'll see it. There's 3 tiles that that scroll by on the front of the page, one promoting the show, one promoting my book, and the third one promoting the television network. So click that and check it out. So, in any event, joining us right now, my man, Dax Khan. Good morning, Dax.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing better than Mikey Garcia. What was your thoughts on the fight, brother?
Well, leading into the fight, it had that De La Hoya Pacquiao feeling, in 2008, even though De La Hoya was past it and Pacquiao, was on the rise, and both these guys were in their prime, just the size, just didn't seem plausible. But then, you started thinking back, for some reason, Mikey Garcia, who could have fought anybody, he must have really seen something, and it must have been really confident that they were going to be able to capitalize on. And early in the fight, it seemed, started out slow, and then, okay, maybe Mikey does see something, because, I thought he won that second round. Then after that, Errol Spence, the size was too much. Errol Spence fought a smart fight. He utilized the jab well. And, it was just one-sided, and he slowly, broke Mikey Garcia down. Mikey Garcia, kind of took, he didn't get knocked out, he didn't get dropped, but, it was one of those types of fights that can shorten a career. So, will he be the same fighter when he moves down in weight? But, it was a good fight against two genuine pound-for-pound guys. It just wasn't the fight that everybody thought, and more or less the whole story behind this was, can Mikey Garcia, pull off the major upset, and it didn't happen. Credit to Errol Spence, credit to Mikey Garcia, because he was chasing greatness, which we don't see in this era. Other than that, though, there's really not much to talk about in the fight, and Errol Spence, like Sal said, people are going to criticize. There's going to be a lot of questions about him. How come he didn't get the stoppage? But I think he was just knowing that, I have a very talented, more experienced guy here that, I'm not going to fight reckless and I'm going to box intelligently. So you have to give him, all the credit in the world.
Now that it's over, it seems to me, and exactly what you said, I was a victim of that. I thought Mikey Garcia had something up his sleeve. I thought he really saw something, and he was going to exploit. At the end of the day, after really putting all the data in, Mikey Garcia was the guy that had a chance to be an all-time great if he pulled the upset. Errol Spence had to win this fight. By taking a fight like this is always more risky for the guy that's supposed to win, like Errol Spence. And he didn't knock him out. So, in a sense, I don't think he accomplished what he was saying. He said, I win this fight, I'm going to be the pound-for-pound top fighter. I don't see it. If he beats a Terrence Crawford, yeah. If he moves up in weight and beats a middleweight, yeah. That's what great fighters do. They don't just beat the guys they're supposed to beat. They don't beat smaller guys. They don't beat washed-up guys. This was the misconception that was shoved down everybody's throat by Floyd Mayweather. And now Spence is seemingly to capitalize on it with Garcia. Now, with respect to Spence, Dax, Garcia is the one that called him out. But to me, it looks like Garcia's plan, and this is just the way it looked based on his performance, was to survive the fight, cash the check, and today's a new day.
I think that became the plan after, the fifth round. I don't think that was the plan going in. It just, as the old adage goes, once you're in the ring, it's a whole lot different than what it is outside the ring. And whatever they seen that made him call Errol Spence out, they weren't able to capitalize on. And on the other hand, the fact that Mikey Garcia did call anybody out and could have fought anybody, why didn't he call out Terrence Crawford, or he didn't call out Keith Thurman? Because he's seen a flaw in Errol Spence that he thought he can expose. He didn't see something in either one of those guys that he thought he could expose. But he wasn't able to do that. Errol Spence did what he was supposed to do. Now it's time to move on, and hopefully the top fights get made, and that would only be Errol Spence against Keith Thurman or Terrence Crawford, and we don't see more of this game playing and marinating and building up that Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya, both, not just one, both of them are responsible for really creating in this sport and dragging out.
I thought that Garcia, when he was aggressive, when he was Mikey Garcia, the Mikey Garcia that I love to watch, he was landing. He was effective landing punches. I just don't think that approach, that offensive attack happened enough. And that could very well be because Spence was nailing him and those punches were stinging Mikey Garcia. But at the end of the day, I thought Spence, especially when he came on in the second half of that fight, nobody can say that he was not looking for a knockout. And to Garcia's credit, he did survive. But that's not what I'm looking for when I see a mega fight like this.
No, and honestly, and I'm not taking anything away from Errol Spence, and as you know, what we call now the PBC Manites, who just fall into everything. Anything any PBC fighter does, if they blow their nose, it was the greatest nose blowing in history. On social media last night, there were certain guys that were sitting there saying nobody in the world could possibly last with Errol Spence, Mikey, except for Mikey Garcia, and you're saying to yourself, do you even know who Terrence Crawford is or Keith Thurman? I'm not really sure that after last night's performance, and styles do make fights, that Errol Spence could beat Keith Thurman or Terrence Crawford, because Keith Thurman is a puncher and a mover, and Errol Spence, when you mentioned how when Mikey did land, Errol Spence kind of paused. Keith Thurman kind of has that power that would really, not just pause him, but would sting him. And Terrence Crawford, again, a guy that can move around, but he's so much more aggressive, and he's a switch hitter. And Terrence Crawford, he's going to work upstairs, he's going to work downstairs, he's going to come towards you, and he has a solid defense as well. So, but Errol Spence is still young in his career. We have to forget, we seem to forget that Errol Spence, doesn't have the extensive resume that these other guys have, despite the fact that, he's so impressive inside the ring. And last night, more or less, if you want to say anything, he used that as a way to kind of build his experience against a guy of that level, because he's never been in against anybody the level of Mikey Garcia. I don't care what the size is.
I don't think he has a chance against Terrence Crawford, to be honest with you, Spence. I think Terrence Crawford, after watching Spence and Garcia last night, I think TC is the best welterweight. I do think he has a shot against Keith Thurman, but I'm not so sure how he would do against Manny Pacquiao. I don't think that's a smart fight for Manny Pacquiao, but in any event, what was your thoughts on some of the other fights, like the Benavidez fight? Jalen Love should consider selling cars or something at this point, because he showed me nothing.
Nothing surprising about this. This is two Mayweather fighters now that Benavidez has beaten up. The Ronald Gavril fights, those were very close. The first one was very close anyway, and could have gone either way. But, the second one, Benavidez had won clearly. I'm a big fan of Benavidez. He was originally supposed to fight Anthony Durrell for that vacant title that he fought Gavril for the first time. Now that Anthony Durrell has that belt, maybe that fight will happen. I'm not sure. I don't know. Jay Leon Love, he's a nice kid. He has decent skills, but he's far from, A-level, of course. Benavidez, hopefully he's done, with drugs. He lost that title because of his cocaine use, and he's ready to sit down and, make a serious run. Right now, though, I wouldn't put him in against anybody. If I was, his advisor, I wouldn't put him in against anybody but Anthony Durrell, and certainly steer away from Callum Smith over in the UK, because, David Benavidez, he looks great against guys like Jay Leon Love. He looks great in wars against guys like Ronald Gavril, but, he's still not a rounded-out fighter yet.
He beats Durrell. Durrell, he's just another PBC fraud fighter. And we'll see what happens with that. How about the Nery Arroyo fight? Arroyo, I know he's older and doesn't have as many professional fights, but he's a tough guy. Nery might be a kid to really keep an eye on, because he looked pretty impressive. What was your thoughts on that fight?
I thought this was going to be a better fight for both. A better fight. They're both former world champions. Arroyo at a lower weight, he was the former IBF super flyweight champion, even though he lost it in his first defense. But, he's a solid boxer, just like his brother. He has all-around skills. The big downfall on him, he has no power. Nery, he has genuine power. He can box, but I don't know if his power, I've questioned, exactly how good his power is up until last night. Remember, when he won that title against Shinsuke Yamanaka in 2017, he failed his drug test and he was stripped of the title. And then, when they had the rematch for the belt, he misses weight, and then he fails the drug test again. He's the only guy that I ever remember being banned for life from Japan. So, there's a lot of questions out there on Neary right now, but, he definitely looked impressive last night, and you want to see more of him. I think maybe if you want to get the true story on him, you'd have to wait until the World Boxing Super Series is over and see how he does against the monster Naoya Inoue.
Yeah,
but that, in my opinion, would be a fabulous fight. They're both huge punchers, and however long it lasts, I promise the outcome is going to be sensational.
What I like about this kid, Neary, is he's young. He's doesn't have the pedigree, an amateur pedigree that we're used to seeing, and he just seems. They referred to him as a natural last night, and I think that was a great analogy. I think that he does seem to have a lot of natural abilities. The only thing I could see that he should try to get better on is his defense. He did leave himself open, but when he attacked, he mixed it up, going upstairs, downstairs to create the openings that he needed to take care of business. And it just seemed like every punch that he was landing on Arroyo hurt Arroyo. I mean, the stoppage was justified. I mean, there was no question.
Well, when you get somebody who doesn't have that amateur pedigree and they have such power, of course, you're going to see those defensive flaws because they fall in love with that power and they haven't had the time to develop that defense. So, the answer on that, exactly where he would be, would, again, once he steps up levels in competition against guys that have power and they can bring him a little longer into the fights. Even his fights against Yamanaka were short fights. I don't think either one of them went past 3 rounds. But Neary is exciting. I want to see a lot more of him. I think everybody wants to see a lot more of him. And last night was his introduction into the United States. So I'm sure we will see a lot more of him.
The one thing he does do better than and I agree with what you say 100%. I mean, guys that have pop have a tendency to just, that becomes their defense, but the one thing I did notice about Neary, I think when I say he needs to work on his defense, it's more with him moving, not running, moving. He does have head movement. He does move his head. But defensively, he doesn't keep his hands up enough, it seems. I just would like to see him, keep his hands up and move a little more in addition to the head movement. And then I think he's a tough out. If he can avoid some of the punches, not that he takes so many, and then continue with his offensive attack, he's going to be a tough out. He really is.
Oh, he is, and he's a top fighter. He just hasn't been stung yet, and he just hasn't been in there with, a guy that has been able to do anything to make him want to be defensively responsible.
The heavyweight division is clearly one of these hot divisions right now. We have several top fighters. None of them fight each other, but several top fighters that are good, and a slew of young fighters seemingly coming up to fill the void when the guys at the top fade away or retire or whatever. Chris Arreola fought last night, clearly not a young fighter, more towards a guy faded. If he's not, faded already, he's almost faded. But he got a pretty big win last night. What was your thoughts on that fight? It seemed like he just was the same Chris Arreola, and he just happened to have a guy that he could stop.
Well, listen, the PBC needs to keep one of these guys relevant somehow. If the card was, it was dreadfully horrible. Let's be honest. You were honest before. Yeah. If they wanted to improve the card just a little bit, what they would have done is put Chris Arreola in against Charles Martin. At least you had a former world champion belt holder against a former world title challenger. And then you would have had a better matchup with Corbin against Augustin because those guys are both on the same level. But they wanted to get wins for Martin and Arreola that made each of them look like, they were still somewhat relevant. So this way, when they get themselves another heavyweight on the way up, they can put either Martin or Arreola in there, and a win for them over one of these faded guys would make that prospect look sensational. Let's be honest, that's all it was. Those fights meant nothing.
I know. Well, the only thing that you could see is the potential Arreola against Martin. And, you say, okay, that's great, but just like you kind of alluded to, here's two guys that have already been there, done that. Now you're expecting them to climb the ladder, and then the winner of a Charles Martin against Chris Arreola, who does that fight earn the winner? What fight gets handed to that? A Wilder matchup. I mean, who?
Look, I'm a big fan of Adam Konopka. He's an exciting fighter, but man, is he an undersized heavyweight. And Charles Martin was an opponent for him in his outing prior to last night. So if Charles Martin is an opponent for somebody that much smaller than him, a guy that doesn't have a lot of pop, Charles Martin isn't going to be any threat or any legitimate opponent, or is he not going to climb back up against, these bigger guys at the top of the division? I mean, he wouldn't even be a stay busy fight for any of these guys. He wouldn't even be a stay busy fight for Jarrell Miller if Miller wasn't fighting Anthony Joshua next. Let's be honest. Charles Martin won that title on an injury. Charles Martin really, got full of himself. Charles Martin went and did the right thing. You have to give him credit. He went to the UK, he was the champion. He traveled, but, after that, the guy was just never the same. And I believe once that happened, there was problems with some sort of mental problems. I think he was arrested, So Charles Martin's a loose cannon. And Chris Arreola, a guy that, you love because he's always put on great fights and he always gives it his all. He's just taken so much abuse over the years. Chris Arreola, he needs to retire sometime soon for his long-term health. This fight would have been, the best fight for either one of these guys would have been against each other, and then the loser leave, and then the next one fight somebody, on the lower level, and those guys go out. But again, like I stated, the PBC needs to keep them around so they can feed them to somebody else, and that's all that was.
The funny thing is, Chris Arreola seemingly was in one of the best shapes that I've seen him in a long time, coming in around 240-something. Previously, he was up in the 250 and 260 range. But his skill set is he's just a barroom brawler, And speaking of the heavyweight division, there's rumor, Deontay Wilder has announced, I think 6-7 months ago, that he's going to have a press conference this Tuesday to announce a big thing. We've discussed this many times. I mean, he seemingly is the odd man out. There's not a fighter left that would be such a huge fight for Deontay Wilder, even though he still thinks he's the main guy in the heavyweight division, which is a sad statement, because we all know that this guy is being used as a pawn by the PBC. But rumor has it that DAZN offered Deontay Wilder a 2-fight deal, flat rate $50 million for the 2 fights. And then 2 days later, Eddie Hearn offered him a 3-fight deal, guaranteed $100 million. My question to you, Dax, is, I've been very critical of Deontay Wilder because everybody's always saying it's about the money, and he's left millions, double-digit millions on the table avoiding fights. I know he has more money than he's ever had in his life right now, but if he should not take one of these offers, what does that mean to you?
That just means to me, and Deontay Wilder is not stupid. I mean, stop. Let's not insult the guy. What's happening is Deontay Wilder has managed, or the people around him have managed, to really gain his confidence, and they had it in his head. There's promises that he's going to make this big money that these other guys are offering him, and Deontay Wilder is foolishly believing in these people around him, and he's not seeing through the smoke screen that, they're out there to make money off of Deontay Wilder. They're not out there for the betterment of Deontay Wilder. So that's, the mistake that Deontay Wilder's going to see one day down the road, look back upon and say, how was I so stupid at that point in time? But, I can't be too hard on Deontay Wilder. In this sport, loyalty is very rare, if at all, and Deontay Wilder, at minimum, is a loyal guy, and he should believe in himself because he is a world champion, and he is a dominant fighter when he goes in there, and he has shown he has heart, and he has shown he has a better chin than he was ever given credit for. So I can't be too hard on Deontay Wilder. I got to be more hard on the people that handle him and deal with him. Remember the name Lou DiBella, how hard I was always on Lou DiBella when he had Sergio Martinez in his stable, and Sergio Martinez was the lineal middleweight champion and one of the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in the world, yet the only time you heard the name Sergio Martinez out of Lou DiBella's camp was 2 weeks before Martinez was defending his world title.
You know, I agree with you about Deontay Wilder's team around him. They're misleading him. They're not getting him what he should get. I agree with you that he's a champion, and I definitely agree with you with Deontay Wilder's loyalty because it's very impressive. But where I do disagree is I do think Deontay Wilder is stupid, and I say that because at the end of the day we've been talking about the potential deals, and yeah, it's he said, she said. You never know who's really giving you the full. But at the end of the day, 2 years have gone by, and there's been millions of dollars left on the table. And you know as well as anyone that this business is short-lived. You need to make the money when you can. And at some point, the opportunities are going to pass him by. There are the big fighters right now, the main guys, the guys that he can make the most money fighting are really, let's be real. It's AJ and Tyson Fury. Those are the two top dogs. He could fight some of these other guys. He could fight Brazil. He could fight Kaznaki. He could fight those guys, but they're not going to get the money for him that he's seeking. I think it's time to make those deals, Dax. I was going to call you Sal. Sorry, Dax. I didn't mean to insult you.
No, it is time to make those deals. But again, Wilder is the fighter, and he believes in his management team. So I'm not going to be too hard on Wilder. I'm just not. Maybe 3 or 4 fights ago, before Wilder had really proven what he is inside, what type of fortitude he has when he gets hurt, when he's hit, when he's stunned and stuff. Then maybe I would have been a little harsher on him. But right now I can't. But before I go. Speaking of money, the Friday night, Katie Taylor unified the IBF, WBA, and WBO titles. And what I found amazing on there is Rose Valente, she was paid $100,000 for that fight, which is a huge purse for a female fighter, especially one that has never fought in this country before, and she doesn't have any names on her resume that anybody would recognize despite being a world champion. I don't know what Katie Taylor made, but what does that tell you in terms of Katie Taylor and her marketability and female boxing and the direction that she's going, and where she's actually bringing that sport? I mean, is Katie Taylor quickly replacing Claressa Shields as the face of female boxing? And I do mean quickly.
Yeah, well, what sells is fighters that have, in any sport, the personality. And quite honestly, Katie Taylor has a good personality. Businesses want to be around her in terms of support and advertising, et cetera, et cetera. She's a marketable fighter. Claressa Shields, a lot is on her right now with the fight that she's got coming up against Christina Hammer. That should help her, but she has, you've said it yourself, she's turned people away with her change of attitude and the way her personality has seemingly changed, similar to a Deontay Wilder, where, he's in that interview yesterday, and he was just sounded like he was off his rocker. I mean, it was bizarre, and sometimes Claressa Shields sounds like that, so I don't know. They force these businesses to stay clear of them, Dax.
Funny thing about Claressa Shields is you've met her, I've met her. You sit down, you talk with her, and she's totally different when you're in that environment with her than what she presents herself on TV when she gets around that little crew of the other PBC fighters who are all themselves acting like idiots. Errol Spence, for one, as much as I like him, as talented as he is, Errol Spence over the last year or so has really turned into an idiot, when he's out there hanging out with these guys, being seen drunk in public and so on and so forth, and it really doesn't sell. They're hurting themselves in terms of marketability. Deontay Wilder is a guy that he has the opportunities to make these big dollars, but on the other hand, what he's doing is he's allowing the people to steer him away instead of him following the people, with his loyalty, and that's where boxing in this little circle, these PBC fighters, has regressed. Over the years, we've seen boxing fighters, Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, the Klitschko brothers, they have all, revolved the sport of boxing in terms of where they have taken control of their careers. They called the shots. They made the money. And these guys just more or less, went back 25 years to they're doing whatever the promoters tell them. They're falling for anything the promoters tell them, and they're not going to realize until their career is over how much they've actually been taken for and how much that the promoters made compared to what they actually made when they're looking at their bank accounts and the kids are about to go to college and they have tuition to pay.
Good point. Dax, great job as usual, and we'll be looking forward to you next week, brother.
All right, and next week when I come on, I'll be recapping the Masters tournament that I'm going to be covering at the Civic Center.
Sounds good, my man.
All right.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
That's Dax Khan giving us his thoughts. I am going to take a short break, but one thing I do want to add to what Dax just said about Clarissa Shields, he's right. I had the pleasure of meeting Clarissa Shields before she won the second medal, and we were at an event, honoring women's boxing, and the way all of the world champions and former world champion female fighters reacted to Clarissa Shields. She had her medal with her, and she had won that medal, and a lot of female fighters looked at it as she won it for them too, and that's the way they treated her. And she was a very humble young woman at this event. She subsequently won another gold medal, and same thing. I mean, all the previous fighters put her on a pedestal. She seemingly broke down some barriers, and then she's kind of become what Dax is describing, and she's regressing. And then you have someone like Katie Taylor, who's coming on strong. And even though I was critical, the one I love is Heather Hardy. I'm in love with Heather Hardy. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Alex Papali joins us. So don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Have osteoarthritis in one or both knees? If you have osteoarthritis in one or both knees, are you on Medicare, Obamacare, or other health insurance? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knees, covered by Medicare at little to absolutely no cost to you. We also offer a prescription strength topical pain relief ointment that can be used for pain experienced on other areas of your body. Our experienced staff will work with your doctor and handle all of your Medicare or insurance paperwork. Best of all, your prescription is shipped directly to your home for free. Will you qualify for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knee or for a topical pain relief ointment covered by Medicare or private insurance at little or no cost to you?
Find out for free by calling the Back and Knee Pain Center at 1-800-604-1072. That's 1-800-604-1072, 1-800-604-1072.
Medical alarms for people who fall or have medical emergencies. You never think you'll need one until you do. Hi, I'm Lonnie Anderson for Advantage Alert. Today, our advanced systems locate and protect people inside and outside their homes, plus when they're on the road, allowing users with the press of a button to speak with an operator who can summon help. And even after 30 years, Advantage Alert's products remain amazingly affordable.
Call 800-985-1705.
Addiction is an epidemic in America. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, you need to call the R360 Network now.
I'm Ken Seeley, author, addiction recovery specialist, and former addict. R360 is a nationwide network of addiction recovery specialists that I personally selected and recommend.
The call is free, the consultation is free. If you have private insurance, your treatment could be covered with no out-of-pocket cost.
Call 800-705-0023.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.kofantasyboxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.kofantasyboxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.kofantasyboxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in. Because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Don't forget about our 24/7 television channel. That's right. Check it out, Billy C. Boxing TV. You can get all the information. Just go to our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the slide. There's 3 slides on that website, and the third one, or depending upon when you arrive, will take you right to the channel and everything you need to know. There's a lot of stuff on there. We replay these shows, but we also have a bunch of events that we've done over the past 15 years that we've been doing this show. So joining us right now, my man Alex Perpali. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Billy C. How are you?
Okay, good. You got the teleprompter working. Good. I see that. It's
I hit the wrong button. I okayed an audio call the first time, so I was like,
What's your thoughts on the fight, man? Errol Spence pretty much dominated Mikey Garcia. Let me down. What did you think of the fight?
I enjoyed it, but you're right. The pay-per-view was mostly caca. It was maybe a C. But the fight was fun. I do think Errol Spence maybe let Mikey Garcia off the hook a bit. But I think Mikey Garcia, his toughness really was on display. I mean, I can't believe the chin he showed in those last few rounds. But I do think Spence, that's sort of the problem about this, is that these guys are all friends. I don't know. I was thinking, if that was Tommy Hearns and it was 1984, 1983, would he have turned it up and tried to stop Mikey Garcia? And I kind of think he would have. It sure looked like he was going to in the, 8th round, 7th, 6th, and 6th round was one of the worst rounds I think Mikey Garcia has ever suffered as a pro. I mean, he really got hammered quite a bit. I enjoyed the fight. I thought Mikey Garcia was going to do it. I dared to believe in him. I guess mainly because so many people were saying, a good big guy beats a good little guy. But I thought Garcia was a little better than good. I think Spence, to give him credit, if Mikey Garcia, I think his plan would have been to fight him in close. That's definitely what his corner said. Spence took that away, and he did mention that at the end, that he said, I'm the bigger, stronger guy, so I was going to use that. And so he put that jab into play right from the get-go. The first round was kind of dull, but even in that first round, you saw Spence working that jab. And the jab, I think that did everything. It set the distance of the fight Garcia never really was able to make any adjustments for it. I did give him 2 rounds, but I thought that was very generous. And like I said, I was going in there rooting for Mikey Garcia. So I think that, the round I thought Garcia won was the 5th, where he did come out really aggressively at the start. The other one was a very close round, was the 2nd. But otherwise, yeah, I got no problem with seeing Spence win every single round.
It was a win-win fight for Mikey Garcia. If he won the fight, he would have been a pound-for-pound cemented as an all-time great. Really, he would have. Because all-time great fighters, and this is the argument I have all the time with unknowledgeable boxing fans, great fighters do great things. Mikey Garcia moving up 2 weight classes is a great challenge to accomplish. Should he have accomplished it? Errol Spence Jr. fighting a 2-weight division smaller guy, and then to suggest should he beat this guy, he should be considered the pound-for-pound best, is the wrong mindset. It's the wrong way of thinking. It's the brainwashed mentality that Floyd Mayweather has planted in this sport over the last 10 years. And this is the problem. You don't get a win over a guy you're supposed to win and then pound your chest. In a way, Mikey Garcia left that ring with more credibility than Errol Spence Jr. I say that because he didn't get knocked out. He went the distance. It seemed to me, Alex, that the game plan, and I thought it as soon as the first round was over, that the game plan from the onset was to survive 12 rounds without getting knocked out. Because you're right, the way that the only shot he had at beating Spence, because he landed punches when he did get inside, was to fight inside. And he was reluctant to get inside because of the pop that he was getting handed by Spence as he was trying to move in. So he would stop and try to reset and do everything that Mikey Garcia normally does not do. So I give Spence credit for disrupting Mikey's game plan, but I can't give him that much credit for beating him, because the truth of the matter is he should have.
Yeah, I think that was sort of the sort of no-win situation that Spence was in. But I do think that he did the way he did it so flawlessly, where he controlled pretty much the entire fight. But you're right. I mean, the idea that you could beat a smaller guy who's taking such a big step up and then think of yourself as pound for pound the best in the world, I had a problem with that, because I thought Mikey Garcia, even that, he's not beating the best welterweight on earth. He's beating one of the title holders. So even the idea that Mikey Garcia would have been considered number 1 pound for pound, no, I'd have more problem with that. If he fought Lomachenko and beat Lomachenko, then okay, maybe he's pound for pound the best in the world. Well, not maybe. He would be, in my mind.
No,
but
not just one fight. Not just one
fight. That was the fight he avoided. So, I mean, yeah, there's no way Spence. I don't think of Spence as the number 1 pound for pound. And you're right. I think that is some, I don't know, to me, and that was the thing, Billy C., that I was a little disappointed with last night. And you're right. I think that some of this is the sort of PBC, what now has become Fox, sort of hype machine. They are really, never in the entire broadcast did they mention Terrence Crawford's name that I heard. And he's the best guy at welterweight. So you have kind of a problem there, because it's almost like the entire fight landscape they're showing you is like, it's alternative facts, to use a timely phrase, because you're not talking about the very best guy in the weight class. Spence, I think he does beat Manny Pacquiao. I think he's physically bigger and stronger and younger, and I think he would beat Pacquiao. Pacquiao didn't look exactly thrilled about fighting him.
He didn't.
Like that, right?
But
yeah, I'll do it.
But he didn't look. But this is like, it's like what Manny said when they asked him, "Hey, Manny, Do you want to fight Errol Spence next? And Manny said, fight him. Okay. So I mean, the truth of the matter is that Errol Spence is, listen, guys like Marvin Hagler, guys like Sugar Ray Leonard, and you go back further, Sugar Ray Robinson, et cetera, these guys Roberto Duran, these guys cemented themselves in history because they challenged themselves. They beat fighters when other people said they couldn't do it. Roy Jones Jr. moving up and winning a heavyweight title. That was a challenge for himself. I don't care who he fought. People don't give Ruiz credit, but he was dominating, either champion or former champions at that time. Well, dominating isn't a good word with Ruiz. He was winning the fights. Let's just say that. But the truth of the matter is that's what separates a regular fighter from a great fighter. Errol Spence, no disrespect to him because I like him, beating up Manny Pacquiao, who's going to be 40, isn't a feather in the cap. It's a name. Beating up Mikey Garcia, who moved up 2 weight classes, yeah, it was good. But you're supposed to do that. Now if he cleans up the division, beats TC, or goes and even giving him credit to fight Thurman, or even a Sean Porter or Danny Garcia, anybody that's a top name in the division, then you start to give credit. But what he's doing, Alex, he's clearly taking the easiest road out. And who does that sound like?
Yeah, I hear you. But I think one of the biggest knocks I have on Spence and why I gave Garcia a very good chance is I thought he was too green. One of the things that, if you look at his record, that I think really stands out is just the inactivity. He is fighting more often lately than he has been. What was it, in 2017? I think he only fought once, and then I think last year he fought twice. But that's very rare for a guy his age.
Who's the best two guys on his record? Who's the best two guys?
And that's the other thing, is that the best guy on his record was Kell Brook. Now it's Mikey Garcia.
Both of them. That's it. Those two.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. So, yeah, I do. But I do think of him, Spence and Crawford, I do think of them, and Pacquiao still, even what we have left of Pacquiao, I still think of those 3 guys as significantly better than Thurman and Porter.
I think Ugas gives him trouble. I think Sean Porter gives him trouble. I think Danny Garcia gives him trouble. It's the only guy out of the top welterweights, the only guy that I really believe that Errol Spence can just take without much trouble is Keith Thurman. And I say that, I agree with Dax. Keith Thurman has skill set. There's no question. He can box, he can move, he's got pop. But he falls into that rut where if you rock him just a little bit, his hands go down and he just, he becomes a bowling pin, And I think that Errol Spence could finish him off, where, he fought the smaller guys, not so much. But a guy like Ugas, especially with his last performance, he looked good. And I just think that those guys would all give Errol Spence trouble. I don't think he can beat Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford may be smaller than Errol Spence, but Terrence Crawford is an attacking, good defensive fighter. He's a well-rounded fighter. He's got a mean streak in him, something I don't know if Errol Spence has. But I think TC destroys, really, I'm going to use that word, destroys Errol Spence. And I'm not so sure that Errol Spence has an easy time with 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao either.
I think he beats Pacquiao.
No, but not easily.
But
not easily.
No, Pacquiao's not going to be an easy fight for anybody, even at this stage in his game. I think Crawford probably beats him by the widest margin, but I think Spence beats him too. But I was completely wrong last night, so don't listen to me. The one thing I did want to say was that just in terms of the whole broadcast, it's interesting because in some ways I think that they're onto something In
drugs.
That
yeah, they're on something. They're on something. Probably some kind of drug.
Something, yeah. I think they're doing a good job in how they're broadcasting the fight, boxing, very similarly, at least, to other sports, in that they're giving it that the whole broadcast, they're thinking as it's sort of updating you on everything they have going on in the sport, and I think that is cool.
Yeah, but wait, wait a minute. It's only updating what they're doing in the sport.
Well, exactly right. And the other thing but that makes sense though. That protects their product because they're actually hyping the next show.
But it ruins
the same product.
But it ruins the sport.
It's not good for the sport because you're leaving out the best guy by not mentioning Crawford. However, one thing I could really do with a lot less, but I'm not surprised they're doing it because it's the model for all these freaking sports shows, is I couldn't care less about the banter between the on-air personalities. Some of it I thought was just plain mean-spirited. At one point, Chris Myers said to Joe Goosen that kept making fun of them about how cold they were at the previous week, where Lennox needed a blanket and Joe needed gloves. And Chris Myers actually said to him, "Well, you look like a safecracker. Is that how you steal money from all the fighters you work with?" I was like, "Wow, that was a little low." Some of the ribbing, the Linus, Lennox and Linus, I don't know. I don't know. To me, it's as painful as watching, and I think I said this before, it's like watching your local news when they pass from the news anchor to the weather guy, and there's always a few lines of like small talk. You just want to kill yourself when you hear that, and that's the way I felt with a lot of that. Although I did think it was kind of funny when they did say that. But even that was Errol Spence who had tweeted something that Sean Porter looked like a leprechaun.
The thing is on one hand, first of all, Chris Myers doesn't know the difference between a left hook or a fish hook, and so why they have him involved, I don't know. And Goosen, he's not fit. He's not cut out for broadcasting. I don't like the way he. First of all, he's what do they call that? The modern guy. What do they call that? Where they use makeup and they go get their hair styled all nice.
Metrosexual.
Yes, he's a metrosexual guy. And it just doesn't fit into boxing. In my opinion, Lennox has always been good. Boom Boom Mancini I love, but he had a terrible night. I absolutely have fallen in love with that Kate woman. Oh, my God. I couldn't talk to her straight either. But when they brought Deontay Wilder on, the look she was giving him and the nonsense that was coming out of his mouth, I was wondering why they didn't cut off him quicker. And, they finally did. He said nothing. What the sad thing about it is, and I agree with you, the way that they're trying to produce it with a very modern flair, the graphics, it's really, for the person watching at home, it's visually a nice event. But the problem is that they're not competitive. The card sucked. There's no way to sugarcoat it. The card sucked. To be a pay-per-view card, no way. I mean, those matchups, they could have been on regular network TV. They could have been on even a third or fourth rate tiered streaming service. They were terrible. They were one-sided fights. There was no competitiveness at all. I give them credit for soaking us what they did to buy the fight. It just wasn't. It wasn't good. And what they're doing, Alex, is they're furthering dividing the sport, just like we were saying before. What they're doing may be good for their product, but the overall sport needs unity, not division. These little groups. I like the zone fighters. I like the ESPN fighters. I like these fighters, that fighter. If you don't pick an alliance, you're missing out on a whole slew of other fighters, and that's the problem with the sport.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what we're seeing is these like intra-league outlets where, this network only fights the guys that are with that network, and this other network only fights their guys. So yeah, it does. When you have an international sport and there is no one ruling body, and you have all these different promoters and managers that don't have those kind of affiliations, it does water down the sport, because then you're not getting the whole picture. I think the other thing that was unfortunate, that for me as somebody who does like the history of the sport, there really was there was a tremendous lack of historical perspective last night. They have no one really. They don't have an Al Bernstein. They don't have a Steve Farhood. They had Marcos Villegas doing the scoring, but they don't throw to him enough. And they really didn't talk too much about. I mean, you had Ray Mancini basically giving the historical perspective of things, and they didn't do enough talking about what Mikey Garcia was trying to achieve and how long the odds were against him in trying to do it. I think only a couple of guys, Manny Pacquiao did it to De La Hoya, and then I think the only other one is like Henry Armstrong that did it successfully. I think that was a big deal. I think that's the thing about this sport, is you like to connect it to the past. So many other sports today don't have that. That's what's beautiful about boxing, is that it has a rich storied history. And if you have nobody there to give that perspective, that's kind of unfortunate. I'd like to hear more about the history of the sport than walk around to see where Jerry Jones is. I couldn't care less about that.
Yeah, they're walking around. This is where Dak Prescott, his locker is right here.
Yeah.
Here's his name. Get a camera shot of his locker name.
And I think one of the things about it is that this sport, these fighters give us everything. And you did see an example. It was kind of humorous, but also sad when they spoke to Evander Holyfield, and they were like, "What do you think about this stadium?" And he had the best line of the whole night. He said, "There are seats everywhere."
Yeah.
I love that.
They're asking some of these guys the wrong questions, because they're like, I don't know if they're understanding. They have to rephrase it. They have to ask it again. They actually have to answer it for them. It's kind of funny. And I love, huh?
Everyone has a hard time with a live interview. They stick a microphone and a camera in your face, but then they're like, "You're asking Evander Holyfield about the building? What do you care?"
Yeah, well, he responded the first time. He responded with something that had nothing to do with the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, they rephrased it. Well, it's the same thing with Deontay Wilder. He wasn't saying anything. I mean, I guess
I don't know what he was trying to say, but I am looking forward to Tuesday to see, his explanation of why Tyson Fury didn't go through with the rematch, to me, made no sense whatsoever.
He also made it sound like the fight will never happen now.
Yeah, and he seems to have convinced himself that he won big and almost killed him. And I don't know what he's thinking, because to me, all that fight proved is that if they fought 7 days in a week, Tyson Fury beat him every time, as long as the right judges were there.
I think that if they fought again, Deontay Wilder would go in for the kill quicker. And, he would probably... Tyson Fury does not have a solid chin and does not have a power punch. So,
So you think Wilder would win a rematch?
I think there's a good chance he knocks out Tyson Fury, yes. I think Tyson Fury... Listen, I love Tyson Fury. I've been following Tyson Fury since the second pro fight. The thing is that the one thing I do give Deontay Wilder credit for is that he has freakish punching power. He hasn't improved. He's got nothing else. I want to see Deontay Wilder fight somebody with power. I want to see him get knocked out and shut up, because for him to suggest that he is the man in the heavyweight division, Dak said, I don't want to get on Deontay Wilder. I don't want to insult him by saying that he's stupid. He is stupid. He's one of the stupidest people I've ever seen. I mean, he can't even carry on a conversation. Yes, he's a millionaire. He's got more money than me. But he's left probably $50 million on the table because of his stupidity. And with these two proposed offers that are on the table right now, if this big announcement that he's been promoting for 7-8 years now that's taking place on Tuesday isn't that he signed with DAZN or Eddie Hearn, there's nothing else he can say. There's nothing else he can say. Who is out there? Who is out there for Deontay Wilder that isn't already? You look at the heavyweight division right now, the top names, Anthony Joshua Wilder, Tyson Fury, Dillian White, Alexander Povetkin. Those are the top 5 as far as the computer's concerned. Which one of those guys are going to fight Deontay? You got to go all the way down to number 9 for Brazil. If he has a rematch with Ortiz, I'd live with that. I mean, come on. Joseph Parker would be a fight, but he's not going to fight him. I mean, there's nobody there for him. He's going to be fighting these second-tier, third-tier guys and still claim he's the best. It's sickening.
Yeah, I think that's what's unfortunate about these, the rise of the apps and the way these guys have all sort of retreated to their different corners that, they have their networks with them, is that we're not going to see the matchups we were just starting to think we would see. Fury Wilder, Fury Joshua Wilder, those things are not going to happen. So you're left with these sort of consolation prizes. And yeah, I think Wilder Ortiz too is probably the best of that bunch. Hopefully that's what he'll announce on Tuesday. I mean, I think anything less than that is going to be a little, disappointing.
I've always said Brazil is not an easy fight for Tyson Fury, so we'll see what happens.
That's what you think we're going to hear is on Tuesday we'll hear Wilder announce that you said Fury will fight Dominic Brazil. So who do you think?
No. I think I might have said Fury, but I meant Deontay Wilder.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter. Fury's probably going to I wouldn't be surprised if Fury fights Joseph Parker. But I think you're gonna. I agree. You're gonna hear either Deontay Wilder is officially announcing the Dominic Brazil as a mandatory that the WBC is making him fight him. He's got that, or he's gonna say the rematch with Luis Ortiz. I mean, those are the only two fights. I mean, he's got to fight Luis. Luis Ortiz is his only option as a big name. And he's not even a huge name. He's bigger. But
right.
In any event,
I mean, I think that the Chris Areola that fight was fun, but I mean, come on, I don't see him. He's always been fun to watch, but Areola Wilder, nah.
No. Who knows? with that, you finally made me. You silenced me with that. But in any event, Alex, great job. And
it's too bad because it really seemed like. We closed out last year. December 1st was Fury Wilder, and I think after the fight ended, before the decision was announced, it seemed like, wow, we've got a fascinating heavyweight division. Anything can happen. And now we're kind of stuck. We're like, oh, look what we have.
Right. Well, no, it's not the fighters. It's the fighters. We do have a good crop of fighters. It's that they don't fight each other.
Right. Because everybody's, sided with what's right for them, a company that's right for them, and it's not right for the sport. It's unfortunate.
Well, the only one that's not right for the sport is PBC because it appears everyone else is coexisting, which is good. But Alex, appreciate all your insight, and we'll look forward to you next week, man.
All right, Billy C. Take care.
Thanks, brother. That's Alex Papali giving us his thoughts. It is sad to see when you have some of these fights that potentially could be blockbuster fights, and you end up with well, not so much, But when you look at the heavyweight division, I'm amazed at the way the computer sees it. Anthony Joshua, number 1, Deontay Wilder, number 2. To me, that's, obvious. Those are layups. But then it gets a little interesting. Tyson Fury, number 3. I'm not going to argue with that either. But Dillian White, number 4. Alexander Povetkin, number 5. This is the one that makes me sick. Jarrell Miller at number 6. Now, I just don't understand. I could see Jarrell Miller being in the sanctioning body, top 10 or even the top 5, because they're, a bunch of, con men. They maneuver fighters within their rankings to suit, what they need for their champions, mandatories, etc. But when the computer is ranking them, and I'm thinking that it's based on the guy who beat the guy and who they fought, etc., the way a computer should compute ranking systems, how Jarrell Miller is at number 6, for example, above Luis Ortiz, who's at number 8, or above Joseph Parker, who's at number 13. I mean, both these guys, Parker and Ortiz, have fought way better opposition than Jarrell Miller. So it's disheartening, to say the least. What you see and what you're beginning to see, in my opinion. Anyway, and then you got some, interesting matchups as you go down the list with fighters like Oscar Rivas and Otto Wallen and Felipe Hrgovic. Young fighters that are coming up, Ajit Kabiel, Joe Joyce, Nathan Gorman. I mean, these are all young heavyweights that are coming up that I would love to see fight each other, and thus is the problem with the sport, Sal.
Yes, I follow it.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
No, it's a shame.
But we got a couple of emails that I wanted to read. But first, one of my good friends, as a matter of fact, he's responsible for getting our banner on Law and Order, my man Brooklyn Mike. I was talking to him yesterday, and I got to give him props. He thought I was. He said in a very nice way that I was nuts for picking Mikey Garcia to win the fight. But he started talking to me, and he said that he has a good friend of his, and he's talking about the show, and one thing led to another. Next thing he knows, this guy starts talking about this place he went to on St. Simon's Island in Georgia, and he met the owner of this restaurant, and they're singing and they're doing karaoke, and they had such a great time. And he says it was Sal, and I said, yeah. I said, who's the guy? He says, oh, wait till Sal hears it. This guy kept talking about how great Sal is. Now they became buddies, and I said, who is it, Brooklyn Mike? And he goes, Johnny Mazzoni. And he says, you mentioned that, and Sal had a great time with him. You remember meeting Johnny Mazzoni?
Johnny Mazzoni's a great guy, man. He was on the camera crew for one of the movies they did down here. I met him and his crew, and we fed them and served them. Johnny today, he's the guy that's friends with Mike Rella. Yeah,
well, Johnny Mazzoni and my friend Brooklyn Mike, they're in the movie business and TV business. Yeah, and Mike, I told Brooklyn Mikey to come and see you. He's doing some stuff in Savannah, Georgia, which is about 80 miles from you, and he's clearly going to make sure he comes and meets you.
Tell him to call me out and look for me.
Oh, I already told him that when he's going. When he plans on going. I might even meet. I haven't seen Brooklyn Mike in a while. The last time I saw him, I went to his house to watch a Jet game and got to meet his beautiful wife, and we had a great time. They were very hospitable to Billy C. So
is he down here with Johnny?
He wasn't that time, but he's gonna. Right now, he's back in New York for a few weeks. I'm going to try to see him, but. He is planning on going back down to Savannah, so he's going to plan a trip to Sal's. So look forward to that. Brooklyn Mike, he's a great guy. I got a couple of emails. Let's read this first one.
What a small world, Billy C.
Yeah, I know. This is from my man Mitch. He says, okay, here it is. Deontay Wilder is offered a deal with. He's offered a deal with DAZN, 2 fights for $50 million, and 2 days later, Hearn fires back with a second offer, 3 fights, $100 million. These are no fake emails. This is a real offer. Is he going to turn it down? Who are you going to blame if he does? Is he's talking about Tyson Fury? Deontay Wilder. Is he going to blame Eddie Hearn? Is he going to blame Anthony Joshua? Or is he just going to say something stupid? He says, I feel it. It's going to happen. We talked about that. Thanks for the email, Mitch. You're my man. We talked about that, Sal. And, to be honest with you, Deontay Wilder is really proving to be a loyal cat. So much that he's, jeopardizing his financial future. I don't care if he had to go and fight, 10 guys at once to get these kinds of dollars offered at you, guaranteed money, 2-fight deal, $50 million, 3-fight deal, $100 million. You can't turn him down, Sal. You can't. There's if he tries to paint the picture that it's BS, it's this and that. When does this guy turn around behind closed doors and say to his team around him, the Al Haymans, the rest of the team, the Shelley Finkles, etc. When does he say to these guys, "What the F are you doing? Why? How come I can't make? Why am I settling for $2 and $3 million fighting bums? Why do I have to go in front of cameras and act like a nutcase and try to convince people that I'm the main guy in the heavyweight division? And meanwhile, Anthony Joshua is making $30 million to beat the snot out of Jarrell Baby Miller, who nobody on this planet thinks has a chance, which he doesn't. Tyson Fury signs a $50 million deal. I mean, all these guys are making money, but Deontay Wilder, when's he going to wake up and realize, if ever?
Well, he's running, the clock's ticking. He's running out of time. He better realize it soon.
So you think he's going to just let it? You think he's going to? What do you think he's going to announce on Tuesday?
He's getting married? No. I think he's going to announce something along the line, either rematch with Fury, or he has an opportunity to switch promoters or something, and he's going to take that $100 million, which he should.
Yeah, I don't think he's announcing that he's fighting. Who knows? But I got another email here. This one's from my man Fat Apples, who you can catch in the chat room on YouTube right now. He says, hey, Billy C. and the team, how you guys doing? It's been a while since I sent you an email, and whilst communication through the chat is okay, I thought it would be interesting for you and me to send. I thought it would be interesting to you for me to send you a link rather than talk about it in the chat room. He says, so we all know Tyson Fury got robbed, or do we? I personally scored the fight 115-111 to Fury. However, this is what a neutral Argentine fan scored it. He says, please check this link out. This channel has the scores from several fights like Mayweather Pacquiao, Triple G Canelo's both fights, Ward, Kovalev, and other fights such fights we've talked about from the blast from the past. He says, keep up the good work. I still love the show. I did look at the link that FA sent me, and this guy made some interesting points. He'll isolate a punch. He'll say it didn't hit flush. It hit with the palm. It hit with the top. He missed them, and he had his own little punch counter. At the end of the day, Tyson Fury won the fight. I mean, the two knockdowns. And even if you recall the post-fight comments by Deontay Wilder, he thought by dropping Tyson Fury twice in the fight that should have been enough to give him the win. And, because it was corruption and everything else, he got the draw. Yes, he knocked down Tyson Fury twice. One time, devastating. I didn't think Tyson Fury was ever going to get up. But those were the 2 rounds he won, maybe one other round. The rest of the fight was all Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury was landing punches at will, counter-punching him, just getting him out of his game. Made Deontay Wilder look foolish because he doesn't have any skill except for the punching power. The bottom line is, Sal, this guy has to cash in. I mean, he's at a point right now where he's got to start thinking of the money. You know, he can't continue to duck the top three fighters. And the truth of the matter is he's ducking them. They don't have to come to him. He's not in the driver's seat. You know, I just talked about the heavyweight division, and if Deontay Wilder doesn't play nice, they're going to just move on their merry way without him, and we're going to be talking about woulda, coulda, shoulda for 20, 30, 40 years from now. And at the end of the day, Deontay Wilder is going to be the guy that in the history books will be the one that gets the criticism. I'm telling you, just like I think over time, Floyd Mayweather is never going to be above Manny Pacquiao, despite Manny Pacquiao losing to Floyd when they fought head-to-head. Manny Pacquiao will become higher ranked all-time greatness than Floyd Mayweather based on the level of opposition that he fought versus the opposition that Floyd fought and the opposition that Manny's continuing to fight. So the same thing's going to happen to Deontay. What do you think?
Very possible. And like I said, Deontay, I like Deontay Wilder. I think he's talented. I think he's got that freakish punch power. I don't think he's been handled correctly. I don't think he's been, well, I don't want to say trained correctly because, you know, he's got one of the greatest fighters training him. But, you know, maybe he should have learned a little bit more tutelage underneath Mark Breland and a little bit of boxing, a little defensive skills, a little bit here and there. But, you know, there's that scene from one of the Rocky movies when they're running on the beach and Rocky, his head's not into it. And Apollo Creed leaves him in the dust when they're sprinting head to head. And, you know, Sylvester Stallone, all he could say is, we'll pick it up, we'll do it tomorrow. And Apollo yells back, says, there is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. Well, that's what's happening with Deontay Wilder. Deontay, there's not going to be any tomorrow when you keep making these bad decisions. So you better engage in the reality of what's around you right now and realize you've got talent, you've got the ability, you've got only a few short years that you've got to focus and make the right decision. And you keep getting the opportunity where you do not make those correct decisions or right decisions. You're getting further and further off the trail of the mainstream where you need to be. So start making the right decisions, get back on the path, because you only have a few short years to make a big, big difference and to be significant with the pocketbook and with the belts. So I hope you take some friendly advice and start making some better decisions. And I'm in your corner, pal.
Here's what I think. I made a couple of observations on last night. You know, Deontay Wilder announced that he's going to make a big announcement. You know, I love these guys that send out a press release to announce that they're going to have a press release in the future. I mean, that's sad because they're trying to gather and garner some hype before the announcement, because generally what used to happen is the announcement was the hype. Now they have to hype the announcement, which will hopefully gain more hype. It's a joke because that's how unknown this schlep is. But here's what I got out of a couple of comments from last night. So yes, Deontay is going to make this big announcement. Yes, I heard that DAZN offered him 2-fight deal, $50 million. Hearns offered him 3 fights for $100 million, etc. All those things. Here's what I think is going to happen. Last night, there were 2 comments made, and they were actually in opposite directions. One, when that gorgeous Kate Adu, whatever her name is, I couldn't even carry on a conversation without be drooling too much. But the truth of the matter is she said, we hope that, we can't wait for you to return to this network or something like that. So I started thinking, he signed a multi-fight deal with Fox Sports, right? Now they want to enter in the arena, so to speak. So I started thinking that. But then later in the show, we heard, I think it was the main guy, Chris, whatever his last name is. He made a comment. We're going to be wishing Deontay well if he decides to, or when he leaves us, or something like that along those lines. And I went, so it's contradicting what she made it sound like. So what I predict is going to happen on Tuesday, Sal, is I predict that Deontay Wilder will indeed accept the 3-fight, $100 million offer, and we will see him fight two not so great fights, and it will culminate with a showdown with Anthony Joshua. That's what I think. That's what I think will take place in that fight. What do you think?
I hope you're right, man. That would be a good thing, and I really hope you hit on the head. I think you may have something there, Sherlock, and I'm going to concur with you right now.
My final thoughts. Well, first and foremost, next week we have a couple of decent fights on ESPN Network and DAZN. On the 23rd, Kubrat Pulev is taking on Bogdan Dinu, which is a heavyweight fight, which should be decent. Charlie Edwards and Angel Marino in a flyweight title fight. And then the Peterson brothers, Lamont, you dummy, Peterson and Anthony Peterson are both fighting on FS1 next Saturday. Lamont, you dummy, Peterson is taking on Sergey Lipidits, and Anthony Peterson is taking on Argenis Mendez. Both challenging fights for the Peterson brothers. I am looking forward to next week. So make sure you stop right here for our thoughts post-fight. My final thoughts on the Mikey Garcia, Errol Spence is what I've been saying all day today so far. I think that Mikey Garcia has, been the winner. I think he's the winner of the fight in a sense. Not that he won the fight, but he's going to get more credit for going the distance than Errol Spence will get for beating him, even though he beat him decisively. I just think that this was a very low-risk fight for Errol Spence, and I hope that it's not a prelude of what is to come with the rest of Errol Spence's career. I hope that this guy isn't going to follow the path of least resistance and then claim he's pound-for-pound best. He still hasn't leapfrogged over any of the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world today, and I still think they're tied for number 1, or in any order you want, number 1, number 2 is Lomachenko and Crawford. So I just, I don't think this win over Mikey Garcia could win an argument for Errol Spence. What's your final thoughts on that fight, Sal?
It's interesting, and like I said, this was a fight that I was really, really looking forward to. And again, we're reflecting and we're spoiled. I mean, this was not the welterweight division that you and I remember back in the 70s, 80s with Leonard, Pepino Cuevas, all these other guys that can do it all. Carlos Palomino. This was two great welterweights who were champions, undefeated. It was a fight, and it had its glamour, it had its moment. And yeah, I think it was anticlimactic. I think it was not what I intended it to be, or you. And I think Mikey's got a lot of questions, and I think he's got a lot of reflection on it today. And I think Errol Spence will have some good opportunities in the future. They both will. Because like I said, with each big fight reveals weaknesses and reveals opportunities that people recognize. And now they're going to be wanting to get back in the ring and show everybody what they're really about. And you're going to see people wanting to fight them each, because they expose themselves, and maybe they're a little more vulnerable after last night than they were before. So we'll see. That's my thoughts.
Well, we'll see what happens, and the truth of the matter is we'll be looking forward to the fights next week. We'll be looking forward to the fights that materialize between now and the time they materialize, and we'll be looking forward to the big announcement by the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder, on Tuesday. So, anyway,
yes, we will.
All I could say is make sure you tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.